Welcome to Unlocking the Chain. My name is Critter Pranival. I'm your co-host for today. But before I introduce Drew, who couldn't care less about AFL, I want to shout out to the Freo Dockers, who are now 4-1. Did someone say flag mantle? Without further ado, let me introduce the man, the myth, the CEO of MacroPod, the chairman of Jelly C, ladies and gentlemen, Drew Bradford. Welcome, Drew.
Thanks, Critter. It's always a pleasure to be here. Now, the reason I do not care about the Fremantle Dockers are there are approximately 211 countries in the world that play football, soccer. There's about 145 countries in the world that play rugby union. There's probably 30 that play league. I'm thinking there's one country in the world that plays Aussie rules. So the Fremantle Dockers are world famous in Perth.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's move it right along then.
Great to be here.
Good stuff, mate. Okay, well, today we have a special guest joining us. Please make welcome a man who sits at the forefront of AI, blockchain, and all things tech. He's a founder of Oz DeFi, Not Centralized, and Foundry Labs. He's one of the good guys who keeps on punching hard. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the Ayatollah of AI, the Dark Wizard of DeFi, the one, the only Mark Monfort. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll do that if that's okay. Yeah, what an intro. I need you as my hype man for many other places I get introduced to. I don't think I've had anyone do as good an intro as that. So, Michael, thank you so much. And Drew, great to finally be here with you guys on an amazing podcast that I've been a fan of and watching for quite some time now.
Thank you.
Mate,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I've got to say that Elvis Presley used to come into CC Rider. It's only fitting that you have such a big intro.
Well, I'm gonna try to live up to those expectations, and yeah, it's been an amazing journey in both AI and blockchain, and what a great time to be in this space, isn't it?
Oh, mate, is it ever? But let's move right along. So in that introduction, it would have been apparent to everybody that you're a triple banger of being a co-founder or a founder. Can you run us through how you got started and how everything evolved? From crypto to AI and all things tech.
I think both of those technologies, crypto and AI, and even, stuff that is coming up and rearing its head in the space around quantum, they're all technologies where if you're impatient like me and want to get things done, they're perfect for you to get into because you get to change the world if that's your angle. You get to do things faster. You get to, move fast and break things, as they say. But with many pragmatic minds in the space, we look at how we actually can do things safely, whether it is blockchain or AI. I got started, I'm a data scientist by background. I was working in consulting and a lot of stuff in traditional finance, landing as an equity researcher, working in London with Canaccord Genuity, before that at a boutique equity research firm called QMG, doing macroeconomic research and just a whole lot of data analysis. And then from there, coming back to work at the ASX and other places and falling into blockchain because seeing the promise of what this could be in terms of the tech side of things. And then getting into AI more recently because of that data science background. Having done traditional things like machine learning, it was a natural kind of move to get into the smart AI kind of space with generative AI. But, for my sins, I get to wear a few hats. So currently, I am the founder of Foundry Labs. I am also a co-founder of Not Centralized, which has done stuff with the RBA's Project Acacia and a lot of work with Red Belly Network. And then I wear the hat of head of AI at a law firm as part of all of that. And that's just before we get to the community side of things, as you guys had mentioned, and you're great sponsors of the Oz DeFi Association, which is going through some changes itself.
Mark, I'm wondering who you needed to bribe at Jelly C to get the sponsorship out of them. No, to be honest, mate, it's been magnificent, and it's a terrific community. So we're stoked to be involved with Oz DeFi.
But our young guys
know,
go down and get their money's worth in the pizza each once
I
a
think the
month.
key is to try to get Domino's to sponsor us. We spend enough each month, thanks to sponsors like yourselves and Kraken and our other friends. But yeah, they still haven't. I've been knocking. They still haven't opened up the door yet. But I persevere.
Mark, give us a sense, just for the listeners out there. What are some of the benefits of being involved with Oz DeFi?
First and foremost, it's community and the networking side of things. And I say this at events, like the talks are great, but we put a lot of emphasis around the formula of having networking at the start. And, the great thing is that we see a lot of new faces every time. And nothing wrong with seeing the same faces all the time, for example, but I love the fact that every month about 20% are new faces that have never been to these events before. Some, will go and you don't see them for a while, but then they come back for the connection there. And then there's always the consistent folks, but it really is the community and the network. Starting off with like this kind of networking event that we have at the start for about half an hour, 45 minutes or so, and then the talks, and then back to networking, learnings that people have had from the talks that have been there. And yeah, just getting not just like the stuff that we get to share, but learning from the people that are coming to this community as well, and just watching it grow. That's been really the key. So, the community and networks being the most powerful thing, I'd say.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we send Drew over there, who's big fan of it, and we've got the crew in Sydney, and we've had a Oz DeFi event here in Perth. So that was exciting when we had that. But yeah, all around Australia, I'm assuming.
It's a great community, Mark. Well done.
Yep.
Thanks so much. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do it without great guests, as you guys have been at the meetups, and also just sharing the stuff that you guys have been up to, whether it's the stablecoin stuff, it's the fund, it's all these great things that you guys have been pioneering in this space. I think we benefit from showcasing that because everyone gets to see the positive side of this space. Because as you know, whenever there's something new, there's always the critics, and there are plenty out there, but we get to, put those bad thoughts to bed when we showcase some real stuff.
Oh, look, we're aiming to give you a lot more content.
Yeah, that's right. I love the way that I love the way that you highlight what's going on in Australia. I mean, obviously, there's a global perspective that you focus on, but you are very careful not to miss out the intricacies of what's happening locally. So, that's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. That's for sure. And looking forward to more news that you get to share, Drew, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about Foundry Labs, which is really at the intersection of digital assets and AI. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about what's going on and some of the projects that you've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it right there. It is at that intersection between these emerging technologies, as the umbrella term goes, covering both AI and blockchain. And when we say AI, we are talking about generative AI, the stuff that is based on large language models and transformers. So, we work with both of these tools when it comes to solving problems for our clients. And one of our main clients is a law firm called Madison Marcus, and I've done some projects with them in the past as part of Not Centralized. And when I started Foundry Labs, it made a whole lot of sense to do some work with the law firm. So the legal and AI hat is the thing that I've been wearing the most, but I don't forget, my community, and Foundry has allowed me to sponsor the Australian DeFi Association and be able to do things in, as lawyers do that pro bono kind of work. I feel like doing the community stuff through us DeFi is like my pro bono bit of time. But yeah, Foundry, solving problems in AI, for us internally at the law firm, and then also for the clients of the law firm as well. So getting to lead the AI conversation on both is good. And it opens up actually a lot of interesting doors where I see, just because I've been so exposed to, what you guys have been doing and others, there's quite a few intricacies in terms of how we can get blockchain into these traditional kind of businesses like law firms and the clients that we work with, because there's a lot of opportunity there, whether it's stablecoins and payments and others and security using blockchain. Really, really pushing that out, and all of that emerging tech stuff. If you think of that, think of Foundry Labs, basically.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, my understanding is that blockchain was originally developed for law firms, and way before Bitcoin, that it was to make sure evidence was recorded in the right order and could not be changed. So
I
there's
love
something
that
we can
use
all
case.
look up afterwards. No,
Yeah.
but I think that's where it started.
Embarrassingly,
Wow.
I did not know that. I had no idea. I haven't looked it too
True
far
story.
beyond the original. Yeah, there you go. We're gonna have to look that up. That's great.
Oh, I'd never heard of that either. Drew, facts and figures, I like it. Very good. Okay, so speaking of the intersection of digital assets and AI, let's move on. Let's start with Google's public warning that quantum computing could pose a material risk for today's encryption systems by 2029. Okay, so this applies to elliptic curve cryptography used in blockchains and digital signatures, as well as RSA encryption, which is used by the banks, governments, and the rest of the world, pretty much. So, Mark, do you think that this is a wake-up call for everyone, or have they just been overly cautious?
Bit of column A, column B, because this is not the first time we've heard these sorts of worries. And when it comes to the quantum space, whether it is news enough that has seen the price of major cryptos like Bitcoin and Ether fall, on the back of news of groundbreaking kind of research that gets put out there, or if it's just another blip on the radar. I didn't see what the price action did on the back of that, whether it's the algos doing it or it's actually people, lining up to the proverbial, gold bullion place here in marketplace, but in the crypto land. The way I see it is that quantum has always had a lot of promise that it could do this, it could do that. And I agree that there are these steps where there is a bit of breakthrough. On one side, I feel like it's all talk until it happens, but we are seeing blockchains actually do something about it. A lot are investing in post-quantum cryptography, which negates the issues. And I remember the critiques that, funnily enough, we have faced so much in the blockchain space, having been around for over a decade, and that only just now people are starting to feel in the AI, the generative AI space. But one of those critiques being that, well, if quantum computing comes out, or if, the whole networks get knocked out and there's no electricity, well, how are you going to do your blockchain stuff? It's like there's a whole lot more problems that we will have if quantum, is out there, because SSL encryption just generally in terms of securing internet and what we do online goes away. So it's not just like blockchain that has a problem, but many more. But I feel like, the research still has to show a lot more rather than just the warnings that this potentially could happen. Because until something does, then it's just a bit of news again. However, the price trades, and maybe some people are going to be opportunists and look for that. They're going to look for those bits of news items that just move the price so fundamentally downward. Yet, the real fundamentals show that there's nothing really changed. So there could be some good opportunities there. But like I said, I didn't really see what had happened with the price, and obviously not financial advice. But I'm half on that, because it is always interesting when Google, and we've got to take their stuff at strong face value, because they're the ones, their research team, the ex-Googlers that came up with the GPT models. They're not ones to be messed with. And we even had one of them leave to create NEAR protocol, NEAR, which is, a big one in the blockchain space. So, some big things that come out of Google. I wouldn't take it too much with a grain of salt, but I'd just be cautious, not to be overly cautious.
I get you, but I've got some good news.
Good.
So good news is on the 10th of April, CoinDesk have released a report claiming that quantum safe Bitcoin is now possible without a soft fork. How do you do? Thank you very much. A new scheme from a Starkware researcher, not quite, we haven't been able to identify who it is yet, has quantum-proof Bitcoin under the existing consensus rules, offering an emergency fallback while BIP 360 awaits its activation. Okay, so the cost of quantum proofing per transaction is around 200 US. So if you're someone like Michael Saylor, cheap as chips. But if you're using it for a small transaction,
Buying
probably
pizzas.
a little bit expensive. Okay, but mate, what are your thoughts on the narrative of Bitcoin weakness as a result of the quantum hacking risks? We've just seen this report come out on the 10th of April. Now, is it coincidence or not that Bitcoin has started to tick back up as a result of it? And there was been some significant, macro news which has been negative, which has come out, and it has held up, and it's advancing higher now. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's really interesting, first of all, and it's great that our friends at CoinDesk have broken that news there. I agree that the pizzas would have to be proper gourmet type style pizzas to warrant the transaction fee being at 200. But, we've got an end of year party to work out, so we'll work on that. But the thing is, I think, well, the Starkware guys are definitely, they know their stuff. Whether it's the researchers out of Israel, I don't know where the other researchers are from. Backstory, we had a small grant from Starkware way back in the day when I was with Arturo and Nick at Not Centralized, and we've done some stuff, in that space. Arturo, our lead developer there, and he's still, leading the charge at Not Centralized. But Starkware really know their stuff. And so I don't doubt that they've figured out this way. At $200 a pop, probably too expensive for the everyday mum and dad or trying to do microtransactions, micro payments on this kind of stuff. But like every great technology always starts off here. And eventually over time, we find a way to make it more efficient and more cost effective. The fact that they've opened up the Pandora's box and we've got this capability, someone's dreamed it, someone's thought of it, probably many people, but they've executed on it now. Either we're definitely going to get cheaper. That's always been the case as we need this to be. So people will find a way to do that. But we'll also have other people open up the doors to go, hang on a second, they've done that. I've been thinking about that. Maybe there's other ways that we can do this. And we start to see some competition there. So I love the fact that, someone's opened up the box and we can see some of this kind of stuff. But I think there's going to be a whole lot more of that kind of stuff come out. So very, very positive. Doesn't matter that it's $200 in Michael Saylor, pennies on the pennies on the pennies of the dollar kind of range for him. But the fact that it's a capability that's out there, that means we can do something with it. It's just a great sign for blockchain overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I guess what has become evident is the threats are moving very quickly.
Yes.
But at the same time as the threats are moving quickly, so are the cures. And that sort of brings me on to, I guess, the next topic, which would be, having a quick chat about Anthropic's new software, Claude Mythos. So it is so advanced that it could dramatically reshape and destabilize global cybersecurity. Mythos demonstrates an unprecedented ability to autonomously identify and exploit thousands of high-severity software vulnerabilities across every major operating system and web browser, including decades-old flaws that have escaped human detection. Okay, Anthropic have done the responsible thing and restricted access to a tightly controlled group of trusted partners under Project Glasswing.
Is that anyone who pays enough? So if you pay them all per month,
I think all of the allies. I think Drew. Claude's been used to patch critical infrastructure before attackers can exploit it. This is a critical juncture in time where AI has the ability to completely overwhelm security norms. Never before has it been more important that the Australian government gets on the front foot to defend Australia's interests. Mark, I think you're well placed to discuss this topic. But is there anything that we should be doing to prepare for the likes of Claude Mythos?
Well, if you haven't started digging and building your safety shelter, your fallout shelter, maybe it's too late. No. I jest, I joke. It's a funny name, isn't it? Like Mythos for a product that we don't get to touch, that 99.9999 whatever % don't get to touch. The companies that are part of it are either those that had been, I guess, identified as being part of like critical infrastructure that is vulnerable should a model like this be released. So it is, Anthropic was built as kind of like the anti-OpenAI, with the founders coming out of OpenAI, Dario Amodei and his sister have founded it, that they wanted to be more on the research side of things. And I think they're set up as such. I forget what kind of public, corporation entity they are. But regardless of what people think about because there's a lot of developers that have issues with Claude and how they ban people and ban certain types of products. But I think it's a good move that they did this, because if the model is able to do exactly what they say they do per the research papers, try to break out of systems and say that, in the reasoning, oh no, I wasn't doing any of those things, but in fact, its actions were, the fact that it can, as they say, lie to be able to get its way, is something that we do need to worry about when it comes to people not having, and I would say this as a whole, we are not ready in terms of businesses, even from just getting people ready to be properly trained in how AI could be used. People think it's all under the one bucket and have no understanding, or it's like a very strong lack of understanding between generative AI and what it's good and bad for versus just traditional AI that we find in everyday tools like Outlook and Google and Gmail and all that kind of stuff. It could also be good marketing. Imagine that you say, hey, I've got this blockchain. It blows my mind. There's all this great stuff out there. I've got to talk to the government, and you're big enough to be able to do that. All of a sudden, you have all these people writing about you. I think that they've got very strong capabilities, but we've seen plenty of times where it's like, okay, this is the doomsday. Sorry, this is the day the sky is falling. No, this is the day the sky is falling. And we keep moving on. And these things, when we look back, those features came out and they were just nothing more than just a nice feature and a great tool. So I think that it's a bit overly sold that this is just going to break systems, because first of all, it's got to be able to have access to those systems. So good design when it comes to AI is you just don't let it have ability to access certain things. If you put it in the box, and let's not call it a Pandora's box, but like if you put it properly in the infrastructure box with the permissions that it's not allowed to do these things, but it can just talk, it's never going to break out of there. The danger is that we've got harnesses now like OpenClaw that came out a few weeks ago. And people are now giving permissions to their email, to their bank accounts and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, we're getting dangerous stuff there. So I think it's good that they held it back. But I think at the same time, there's a bit of overselling. Nothing wrong with that. And if I am wrong, I'll probably be the first in line when the AI robots come out and pick humans to be the first slaves in their new slave army. I'll probably be one of the first, but that's okay. I'll stand on this hill.
There's a great Black Mirror. It could be you running on the treadmill, right?
Exactly. As long as I get fed, I'll be okay with that. It's the Matrix.
Very good, mate. We're running, a number of different AI programs in the background. We've segregated some via, separate computers. A lot of people are segregating their workflow via VPS. I think you're right. As long as you're, you're keeping a real governance perspective in how you run AI, it's that should be good to move forward. One of the things that's worth noting is that Anthropic have signed a MOU with the Australian government. So if it is advertising, like you've said, they've done a very good job of getting the Albanese government to. It's not a legally binding MOU, which was signed on the 31st of March, but it is, something. There's collaboration on the AI safety side. There's economic data sharing. I think they've even got a 3 million Aussie dollar grant in Claude API credits. And then there's a couple other aspects there that they go through. But very good advertising. This whole thing is really going to, it will have most people trialing Claude, I think, given that, the next iteration through Mythos is supposedly so powerful. I think most people, will be trying it. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to a break, and straight after that, we'll come back.
In markets or on the mountain, every defining move begins with intention. A split-second analysis can change everything. Because the perfect line isn't guessed, it's crafted, it's timed, shaped through precision, analysis, and confidence, with the tools that turn intention into execution. Scotty James finds his on Snow. Traders find theirs in Web3 with OKX.
Welcome back, team. Mark, we're here with Mark Monfort and the one and only Drew Bradford, talking all things AI and digital assets. So, Mark, we just had a good chat about Anthropic. It sort of leads on to the next question, really. Agentic flow looks to be the next bastion of the digital asset industry. You're well placed to talk about this. It's the intersection of AI and digital assets. What's particularly got you excited about the overlap in these two?
Yeah, really interesting kind of space, because a lot of people think about how AI helps every industry, whether it's the blockchain space and how we can test things faster, we can build things better, we can make things more explainable. And we've been doing a lot of so much AI, in the Oz DeFi space that we are even changing our name. And you heard it here first. We're moving to from the Oz DeFi, decentralized finance, all about the tech, association, to being Australian Blockchain and AI Network, ABAI. So, first things first there, but the intersection is not just from the association's perspective, but from the work perspective. We see how AI helps just make things better. If you use it well, these assistants that just help you 10x yourself. I am doing so much more as a developer. I was always a quasi coder, but I've done so much more. Yeah, Drew.
Mark, if you do your job properly at the law firm, you'll be the only guy there, right? You won't need any of those other guys.
Could well be. I'm working on my law degree in the background at the same time. But you raise a really good point. You raise a really good point. I think that the intersection part of this is like having that not just human in the loop, because you could have any human, but I think the real key is when you get experts like yourself. If someone's going to build a stable coin, that's got AI powered as part of it, well, they've got to have experts like yourselves that really know the crypto and blockchain space. That will make the key differentiator. The interesting thing is not for me just like how AI helps blockchain, but the reverse. And we don't see this talked often enough, but we are seeing a few projects start to do this, whether it's using blockchain to record trust. So I don't care if my GP uses AI, as long as I know that they've read the output before they give me the bad diagnosis. And they record that to a blockchain where it can't be tampered with, like any old database. And going back to what you said there before, that the original use of blockchain was to record things for legal work. Like, I think it's great that we get to come full circle, because we'll be starting to do that here for trust payments, for other things like that. So payments and trust and recording things, blockchain is a beautiful technology for that, let alone before we even start to get into zero knowledge proofs, which help share data that you don't want to be able to have all this information flying around and security issues. And we saw with previous work with the CBDC pilot how blockchain and ZK proofs could come together well. Combine those two with what we're doing with AI, and it's a beautiful space.
Yep.
So, Mark, you've got ABAI. That's the name of the new Oz DeFi.
Yep, that's it. Oz Blockchain and AI Network, ABAI. Still working out, because I think there's been pronunciations like Bane, and not to be the bad guy out of one of the Batman movies, but I think it is. It's going to be interesting. So the next meetup
Tom Hardy
that we've got,
did a good job.
He did, yeah. Agreed. Maybe I'll have to come out when we do the announcement. I'll have to wear that outfit or something.
Okay. Last question from me. For you personally, what does success look like in 5 years' time?
Oh, brilliant. Success is a desert island away from the robots that have taken over. No, I'm joking. Success looks like two things primarily. Blockchain is just synonymous with good systems. Oh, you want to build a new project? Great. Well, which blockchain are you using? Are you going to do some payment kind of project? Cool. Which stablecoin are you using? Because people see the benefits of it because it's been out there, and people just no longer yearn for. They hark back to the days when it's like, remember when it used to take 2 days to settle a payment? Remember when we used to do consulting work and we didn't know that the other side had money or not? That'll be an age-old time. Just we look back now at our past and look at that a little bit funny. So it's on the one side. But then on the other, it's AI is accepted and it's used in pragmatic ways, not oversold and overhyped, and not just ignored because of fear, but it has found its place on the shelf of the many tools that we humans have created over time to evolve. So that happy marriage between those two technologies, and then finding a way for the cousin of quantum to come in, and we'll figure that out. But I'm sure there's a happy medium with it all. That's what success looks like for me, and I will just, whatever I am doing, benefit from being involved in this space.
What it's like a marriage made in heaven. You're like the disciple.
Yeah. It's an exciting space.
I speak the word.
It's an exciting space.
Agreed.
Mark, you mentioned which stablecoin, are you using? Wow. Come on, is there only AUDM? Surely.
I think there can only be one.
Drew,
like Highlander.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Right. Exactly. Drew, you got anything else you want to
add? Look, it's just excited to be alive. I think we're going to see one of these one-off. You think of what the world went through in the Industrial Revolution, except instead of being 30 or 40 years, it's going to be 5 years. That whole compression in our capabilities are going to change enormously in such a short amount of time. And, Grits, we've got between Jellycy and Macropod, we've got a couple of small businesses, but AI has allowed us to achieve so much, without having to hire 40 developers. Whereas, it's just an exciting time to be alive. It's awesome.
Oh, Drew, I hear you. I used Copilot Premium last night to tell me how inefficient I am at my job. And boy, it just spat out reels and reels of recommendations about how inefficient I am and what I need to do. And that included, a number of agentic bots to, help out with my workflow, restructuring the way that we do things, here at Jellycy. So actually some very good recommendations. And, I guess you're only limited by the questions that you ask, a particular AI platform. And, the more creative you get, the more that you'll get out of it. And that's kind of what we're encouraging every single one of our staff members at Jellycy, and I know Macropod are all over it, We're encouraging more to continue to ask questions. How can we be better? How can we be more efficient? How can we, generate more income? How can we cut the costs? And, most of all, how can we have a bloody good time, whilst doing all
Doing
that?
it.
Yep.
Love it.
It's all good. How can you not like it?
I think, can I just say one thing
Mark,
there?
thanks, Drew. Oh, yeah.
So just
Go,
really
mate.
quickly, it's funny. From the AI space, Copilot is one of those that has been a bit like of a funny one because people have seen it. It's not been that great, but I've heard all these things where they've been updating what's under the hood and you seeing great results from it. I think a lot of people need to relook at Copilot. And that's the great thing about this space is people, tools evolve.
Now, when it criticised him, Chris has now swapped to ChatGPT. He doesn't use Copilot anymore.
No, it's good. Copilot's good because we've got all our we've got the Outlook, all our emails go through it. We've got all our chats that go through it, all of the Teams meetings, all our files on Microsoft 365. It picks up everything, and it's got a massive history of everything that I've ever done at Jelly C and MacroPod. And it picks it all up and is able to put it all together. It's got a good database, and now it's got some very strong reasoning behind it. So we're trying to use it more often than not.
Great to hear.
Boom.
Yeah, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. You've done it again, mate. I also want to say thanks to all the listeners out there because they took us to a new high in the most recent podcast. Drew's obviously trending on social media. He's a big star on TikTok. And I just want to say thanks to the punters out there. Drew, you've done it again. Well done, mate.
Having fun. And thank you, Mark.
Well done.
Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the
Mark.
opportunity.
Thanks.
Looking forward to the next episodes.